Hi, I'm Amanda Cage, CEO of the National Fund for Workforce Solutions. Welcome to the State of Our Workforce. Where are we now? Each month, we have a conversation that goes beyond the Department of Labor, employment, and jobs numbers to explore issues at the forefront of workforce development. Today's guest is Kelly Aiken, the Chief Program Officer at the National Fund for Workforce Solutions. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, Amanda. It's great to be here today.
It's great to have you. According to the most recent Department of Labor numbers, things are looking up. Employment rose by 943,000 jobs, and unemployment rates declined, currently standing at 4.8% for whites, 8.2% for Blacks, 6.6% for Latinos, and 5.3% for Asian Americans. For those of you who have tuned in before, you know it's very important to us at the National Fund that we talk about these disaggregated numbers for unemployment, because we know there are racial disparities and this situation is not being felt the same way across the country for different groups of people. But the bottom line is things look better. So why don't we feel better?
It's a good question, Amanda. And I think that the reason we don't feel better is because we have all been through so much. We have experienced trauma and toxic stress. And right now, there is so much uncertainty about going into the fall with the Delta variant that it's hard to feel excited right at this very moment. And we know, as you said, that there are many communities and individuals who've experienced this in very different ways. And so whether you are a mom who is trying to navigate opening schools, or you're considering how to go back into a frontline position, there is a lot of worry at this stage of the game.
You talked a little bit about feeling burnout and toxic stress. We know especially women are not returning to the workforce. Can you talk a little bit about how that impacts not just those women, but the workforce in general?
Yeah, I mean, the employers are desperate for workers. We know that, and so as people are returning to work, and employers are trying to entice people back into the workplace, we're seeing wages rise. But we know that a good job is not just about higher wages. It really is about entering into an inclusive workplace where we can all thrive. And so now is the time for employers to take a deep look at their practices and policies to make sure that they are supportive. And really, once you've spent all that energy recruiting people into the workplace, you want to make sure that they're staying there. So how do you create an environment where people can really thrive? And so that's really where that's the impact of people still standing on the sidelines and waiting to jump back into the workforce.
I love that you pointed out the issue of wages, because we have seen a raise in wages. But at the National Fund, we have a more comprehensive approach to job quality and about how we support our workers. And part of that has led us to do some work around trauma-informed practices in the workplace. We recently wrote a guide, and I would love for you, Kelly, to share a little bit about that guide and about what we mean when we talk about a trauma-informed workplace.
Yeah, and this guide has evolved over time. We started this pre-pandemic, but now it's become even more important to acknowledge and recognize that we've all experienced trauma, and that and particularly we bring that into the workplace. And so our new guide is really an opportunity for employers and workforce development practitioners to learn more about what we mean by toxic stress and trauma, how it shows up in the workplace, to learn about practices and policies that really can address some of the issues, as well as learn about employers that are really doing the right thing. So when we talk about job quality and we align it with trauma, we really see that there is an opportunity to increase the amount of safety and trust that people feel in the workplace, the peer support and sense of collaboration that exists within the workplace, that individuals are empowered and have voice to express what they need, and that there is really a focus on cultural and gender inclusion. So those are some of the factors, or some of the principles of trauma-informed practices that align with our approach to job quality. And when we think about what we want employers to do, it's really about training managers to recognize that when somebody shows up late, or they're absent, or that they have a hard time controlling their anger, that there is not necessarily something wrong with those individuals, but there has been an experience that leads them to have those behaviors in the workplace. And we are really encouraging employers to think about how to create a workplace that is inclusive and can help people thrive in that space.
And I know you recently you recently did a presentation around this trauma-informed care. Can you talk a little bit about what the reception was from employers?
Yeah, there was a great reception. It was a presentation to HR professionals who are trying to understand how to tap into their employee assistance programs and train their managers. So we talked a lot about some of the process in which an organization can become trauma aware, can really understand and become sensitive to what's happening in the workplace, how they implement changes, and then and put those practices into place. So overall, we got a great response.
That's great. We work with a lot of employers who are doing the right thing, and we've done some employer profiles on these employers. Employers really developed a deep sense of empathy. They created policies around emergency financial assistance, increased safety measures, flexibility with scheduling. And I just really want to encourage folks to look at some of these practices that employers have done. We've created a Frontline Forward series where we've profiled these companies, where you can see what they've done on our website. And we really just want to encourage people to go to our website, check out our trauma-informed care guide, and check out our Frontline Forward series. As we go into this next unknown around what's happening with the Delta variant, and as we think about reopening our offices, and as we think about what's happening next in the labor market. And I just want to thank you, Kelly, for taking the time to talk to us today. And thank you all for tuning in.